Tales of Moonlight and Rain. The Courtly Yorai of No. Ugetsu. Translated and adapted from the No play Ugetsu. The monk Sagyo, tired from his long journey on the pilgrimage from his house in Sagano to the Sumiyoshi shrine, stops at a small house along the way and begs for lodging for the night. His request is refused, however, as the master of the house and his mistress are too engaged in an argument on how best to appreciate the beauty of the season. To the husband, the sound brought on by the autumn wind disturbing the dry branches of an overhead tree creates a sweet rain song, and closing the roof plank would mute the gentle beauty. To the wife, the glory of autumn is best appreciated by viewing the fullness of the overhead moon, not by listening to rain song. So she wishes to remove the plank and better see the hanging orb. Sagyo interrupts the argument, chanting a poem about how the pettiness of their argument distracts from both the beauty of the moon and the gentle rain song. Hearing this, the couple allows the holy monk to enter and stay at their house. When waking on the morning sun, Saikyo finds himself not in a house at all, but sleeping underneath the boughs of a pine tree. In a dream, it is revealed to him that the couple was in fact the kami spirits of the Sumiyoshi shrine, and that now Saikyo will be taught the secrets of poetry and how all things must follow the patterns of yin and yang, of heaven and earth. Kanihira. Translated and adapted from the No play Kanihira. A trusted retainer of the famous warrior Yoshinaka Kiso. Kanihira Amai no Shiro is a warrior of the Heike clan during the Heike Genji Wars that decided who would sit on the throne as Emperor of Japan. After many wars and a disastrous campaign, Yoshinaka is slain, and his loyal retainer, Kanihira, falls on his sword, following his commander to death. Much later, a traveling monk journeys to the Awazu battlefield in Omi province on the shores of Lake Biwa in order to pray for the spirit of the fallen Yoshinaka. To reach his destination, the monk asks a boatman to ferry him across the lake. During the voyage, the boatman tells the monk the story of the battle and the island on which Yoshinaka and Kanihira died. At night on the island, as if in a dream, the monk is met by a spectacular figure in full armor who sings of the battlefield of Shorado, where the souls of the warriors have no rest. The armored figure is the ghost of Kanihira, who asks the monk to turn the boat into a holy craft that he can ride to escape from hell. Of a Promise Kept. Excerpted from a Japanese Miscellany by Lafayette Hearn. I shall return in the early autumn, said Akana Soyeman several hundred years ago, when bidding goodbye to his brother by adoption, young Hasabi Samon. The time was spring, and the place was the village of Kato in the province of Harima. Akana was an Izumo samurai, and he wanted to visit his birthplace. Hasabi said, "Your Izumo, the country of the 8-cloud rising, is very distant. Perhaps it will therefore be difficult for you to promise to return here upon any particular day. But if we were to know the exact day, we should feel happier. We could then prepare a feast of welcome, and we could watch at the gateway for your coming." "Why, as for that," responded Akana, "I have been so much accustomed to travel that I can usually tell beforehand how long it will take for me to reach a place, and I can safely promise you to be here upon a particular day. Suppose we say the day of the festival Choyo?" "That is the 9th day of the 9th month," said Hasabe. "Then the chrysanthemums will be in bloom, and we can go together to look at them. How pleasant! So you promise to come back on the 9th day of the 9th month?" "On the 9th day of the 9th month," repeated Akana, smiling farewell. Then he strode away from the village of Kato in the province of Harima, and Hasabe Semon and the mother of Hasabe looked after him with tears in their eyes. "Neither the sun nor the moon," says an old Japanese proverb, "ever halt upon their journey." Swiftly the months went by, and the autumn came, the season of chrysanthemums. And early upon the morning of the 9th day of the 9th month, Hasabe prepared to welcome his adopted brother. He made ready a feast of good things, bought wine, decorated the guest room, and filled the vases of the alcove with chrysanthemums of 2 colors. Then his mother, watching him, said, "The province of Izumo, my son, is more than 100 ri from this place, and the journey thence over the mountains is difficult and weary, and you cannot be sure that Akana will be able to come today. Would it not be better, before you take all this trouble, to wait for his coming?" "Nay, mother," Hasabe made answer. "Akana promised to be here today. He could not break a promise, and if he were to see us beginning to make preparations for his arrival, he would know that we doubted his word, and we should be put to shame." The day was beautiful, the sky without a cloud, and the air so pure that the world seemed to be 1,000 miles wider than usual. In the morning many travelers passed through the village. Some of them, samurai and Hasabe, watching each as he came, more than once imagining that he saw Akana approaching. But the temple bells sounded the hour of midday, and Akana did not appear. Through the afternoon, also Hasabe watched and waited in vain. The sun set, and still there was no sign of Akana. Nevertheless, Hasabe remained at the gate, gazing down the road. Later his mother went to him and said, "The mind of a man, my son, as our proverb declares, may change as quickly as the sky of autumn. But your chrysanthemum flowers will still be fresh tomorrow. Better sleep now, and in the morning you can watch again for Akana if you wish." "Rest well, mother," returned Hasabe, "but I still believe he will come." Then the mother went to her own room, and Hasabe lingered at the gate. The night was pure as the day had been. All the sky throbbed with stars, and the white river of heaven shimmered with unusual splendor. The village slept. The silence was broken only by the noise of a little brook, and by the far-away barking of peasants' dogs. Hasabe still waited until he saw the thin moon sink behind the neighboring hills. Then at last he began to doubt and to fear. Just as he was about to re-enter the house, he perceived in the distance a tall man approaching, very lightly and quickly, and in the next moment he recognized Akana. "Oh!" cried Hasabe, springing to meet him. "I have been waiting for you from morning until now. So you really did keep your promise after all. You must be tired, poor brother. Come in. Everything is ready for you." He guided Akana to the place of honor in the guest room, and hastened to trim the lights, which were burning low. "Mother," continued Hasabe, "felt a little tired this evening, and she has already gone to bed, but I shall awaken her presently." Akana shook his head, and made a little gesture of disapproval. "As you will, brother," said Hasabe, and set warm food and wine before the traveler. Akana did not touch the food or the wine, but remained motionless and silent for a short time. Then, speaking in a whisper, as if fearful to awaken the mother, he said, "Now I must tell you how it happened that I came this late. When I returned to Izumo, I found that the people had almost forgotten the kindness of our former ruler, the good Lord Enya, and were seeking the favor of the usurper, Tsenhaihisa, who had possessed himself of the Tonda castle. But I had to visit my cousin, Akana Tanji, though he had accepted service under Tasu Enahisa and was living as a retainer within the castle grounds. He persuaded me to present myself before Tasuna Hasina. I yielded chiefly in order to observe the character of the new ruler, whose face I had never seen. He is a skilled soldier and of great courage, but he is cunning and cruel. I found it necessary to let him know that I could never enter into his service. After I left his presence, he ordered my cousin to detain me, to keep me confined within the house. I protested that I had promised to return to Harima upon the 9th day of the 9th month, but I was refused permission to go. I then hoped to escape from the castle at night, but I was constantly watched, and until today I could find no way to fulfill my promise." "Until today?" exclaimed Hasabe in bewilderment. "The castle is more than 100 ri from here." "Yes," returned Akana, "and no living man can travel on foot 100 ri in one day. But I felt that, if I did not keep my promise, you could not think well of me. And I remembered the ancient proverb, Tama yoku ichi nichi ni sen ri wo yuku. The soul of a man can journey 1,000 ri in a day. Fortunately, I had been allowed to keep my sword. Thus only was I able to come to you. Be good to our mother." With these words he stood up, and in the same instant disappeared. Then Hasabe knew that Akana had killed himself in order to fulfill the promise. At earliest dawn, Hasabe Samon set out for the castle of Tonda in the province of Izumo. Reaching Matsui, he there learned that on the night of the 9th day of the 9th month, Akana Soiman had performed harikari in the house of Akana Tanji in the grounds of the castle. Then Hasabe went to the house of Akana Tanji and reproached Akana Tanji for the treachery done, and slew him in the midst of his family, and escaped without hurt. And when the Lord Sanohisa had heard the story, he gave commands that Hasabe should not be pursued. For although an unscrupulous and cruel man himself, the Lord Tashihisa could respect the love of truth in others, and could admire the friendship and the courage of Hasabe Samon. The Vengeful Ghosts of the Heike clan, translated and adapted from Gekkaiki. The year is 1185. Minamoto no Yoshitsune stands in the prow of his boat as it speeds through Diamotsu Bay in the province of Setsu, modern-day Hyogo Prefecture. Yoshitsune is fleeing from his brother, Minamoto no Yoritomo, who recently seized power from the Heike clan and declared himself shogun. Yoritomo sees his brother as a potential rival. By exiling himself from the capital, Yoshitsune hopes to calm his brother's jealousy and paranoia. The omens of the trip had not been auspicious. Yoshitsune had been forced to leave behind his mistress, the famed dancer Lady Shizuka. But during a farewell dance she performed in his honor, her masterpiece, Shiraboyoshi, also known as The Parting, Her headdress had toppled to the floor. The seas were rough, and Yoshitsune thought of delaying his flight. But his faithful retainer, the mighty Musashibo Benkai, had pressured Yoshitsune into leaving without delay and braving the tumultuous seas. Delay could mean that Yoshitsune's death at the hands of his brother's soldiers. At first, the voyage went well, despite the roughness of the seas. Then things changed. As the boat left behind the shores of Daimotsu Bay and headed towards the Yoshino Mountains, a mist rose up without warning, swallowing his ship and cutting off all light. From the sea arose great waves that battered Yoshitsune and his men, tossing their ship around like a toy. Yoshitsune's ship soon was struck in the sea. Unable to advance or retreat, as if in a grip of some supernatural power. Looking over the side of the boat revealed the truth. This was no sudden squall. Hidden in the depths of the waves were the white bodies of the warriors of the Heike clan, recently destroyed by Yoshitsune himself. Skeletal hands swarmed about the ship, holding it fast in the water. The ship was going nowhere but to hell. One of the ghostly warriors leapt from the ocean onto the ship. At a glance, Yoshitsune knew who it was. Taira no Tomomori, dread general of the Heike. His eyes blazed red with wrath as he swung his massive Naginata long spear and maneuvered to engage Yoshitsune. Remarkably, Yoshitsune betrayed not the slightest glimmer of fear. He calmly drew his own sword and prepared to face off with his dead warrior. The warrior monk Musashibo Benkai knew that the day would not be carried by skill at arms. No matter how deadly his master Yoshitsune's blade was, it could not cut dead flesh. But Taira no Tomomori's Naginata had no such concern. Benkai dropped to his knees and began to chant an earnest prayer to the gods. He called on the 5 directions, the deities of the north, south, east, west, and the mysterious 5th and unknowable direction. While Yoshitsune's steel held off Tari no Tamemori's attack, and the rest of the Onryo of the defeated Heike clan continued to assault their ship, Benkai fought a supernatural war of faith and devotion, pitting his prayer against the power of the dead. Such was the earnestness of Benkai's spirit and the devoutness of his prayer that the waves and mist dissipated as quickly as they had arisen. The vengeful ghosts of the Heike vanished, unable to stand against the protective power of the gods. Their attack was over, and Yoshitsune and his men peacefully continued their flight from Kyoto.